I lived with my mom and my grandma during the week, and I didn't go to church at all. When I was 11, my mom, my birth mom, told me that she was a lesbian, and at that point in time, my mind wasn't really wrapped around like everything that entailed, like religiously and things like that. So in 8th grade, for like a couple of days, it got to the point where my mom, she disappeared for a couple days, and no one knew where she went, and we were all really afraid. My grandma and mom started fighting a lot about like where her priorities were and everything. Felt really alone and like really just like I couldn't turn anywhere. Like the one person that I thought like I could count on was my mom, and she wasn't there anymore for me to count on. So I had known about self-harm for a while, and I never really thought about it seriously until that point, and so that was the time that I started self-harming, because I just felt like really broken and damaged, and it was just, yeah. People don't understand about self-harm is how much it really affects a person, how much it takes for a person to go that far. Like, it's not just a first resort for a person, they're literally hurting their own body. Like, a lot of people are pretty, I mean, honestly disgusted by that fact. They can't see how people would do that. But really, you don't understand the person's mindset at all when they're going through that kind of thing. Like, when I did it, I'm one of those people that hates confrontation and hates arguments and things like that. So when I did it, it was because I couldn't express my feelings any other way. I couldn't say anything. So it was pretty much me expressing myself that way. Like, I couldn't yell, I couldn't scream, I couldn't fight. So you have everything pent up inside, and it just boils out somehow. I mean, if you scream and punch a wall, or if you work out really hard one day, or if you cut yourself, it's just one of those ways that you release everything that's going on. And you're hurting your own body. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. Your brain prevents you from doing that, but when you go that far, you break that barrier, there's really like no other choice. Like, it's just what happens, and it's just how you deal with things. And it's the first resort when you come to that point in your life where you're saying, well, there's nothing else I can do. There's literally nothing like in my life that I can do to make things better at this point. It makes me mad when someone asks someone else that cuts themselves, like, why did you do that? Like, you don't understand, you aren't in that mindset. And half the time, when you start cutting yourself, it is an addiction. So it's like someone who smokes cigarettes. When they just randomly pull a cigarette out and start smoking it, half the time they don't even think about it. They don't think about what they're doing or the effect that it's going to have on them in the future. They just do it because they have to. It's not something we want to do, or it's not something that like we desire as an outlet, but it's the only thing we have. So starting in April of 8th grade, I got a lot more into church and things like that. I was staying with my stepmom and my dad during the week now, so I started going on Wednesday nights to youth group, and to youth group on Sundays, and to regular service on Sundays. April of my 8th grade year, about 3 months after I moved in to my stepmom and dad's house, I accepted Christ in my life, and I do not regret that decision at all. It was a great time for me because my stepmom was getting baptized that same day. So it was a really special thing for both of us, and it was really, really cool to be able to get to go through that with her. As I gave my life over to God, I kind of held some things back, which is one part of it I regret, because I was completely ready like on the day of and everything like that, but then it's kind of over, and you know that you're completely committed to God, but at the same time you always have habits that you reverse back to. Like, everyone I talk to, they have habits that they reverse back to. So one of my habits that I reversed back to was self-harm, but I would never, like, it wouldn't make me feel guilty enough to stop doing it. So what would happen was I would just like do it, and then I would feel really guilty, and I would, pray to God, and I would say that I was so sorry, and Like, I knew at that point, it was instilled in my brain that my body is a temple for God and that I should be living my life out to please and glorify Him and show people that my body is a temple. But, you know, at the same time, I still had this war going on inside of me where, you know, I thought that I was worthless and I was ugly, and even though, you know, I knew that I wasn't inside, sometimes that side of me won, and that's what would happen. It's what would make me self-harm and things like that. The only time I really actually felt like stopping was my 10th grade year of high school, after I met a lot of friends. After I met them and I shared all my experiences, and I felt like things were going on in their lives as well. It was just really an eye-opener for me, and it really made me realize, you know, I'm not alone, and it is going to get better, and you can get through these things. What comforts me, I think, and what helps me is that I have people that surround me and that help me, and that I know that I'm not alone, even though sometimes I feel like it, and that, you know, God is always there. If you have this kind of problem, do not keep it to yourself. Go up to the Center for Student Success, talk to a counselor at school, talk to your ID, talk to your RA, talk to somebody that you trust, and really tell them about this, because the worst thing you can do with self-harm and something like that is go through it alone. That's one of the biggest triggers for a person like me, is knowing that I'm alone. So be that person where if they come to you and they talk to you about this, don't judge them. Everyone has their own struggles in their life. Everyone goes through it in a different way, and this is just the way they chose. And if, you know, you're there for them, and if you really listen to what they have to say, you can help them to improve their life to where they don't have to go to this anymore. I'm Liz, and I'm second.